Kerwin Rae lives life to the max, best known for being a hugely successful entrepreneur, business strategist, author and international speaker. Sounds like he packs a lot into life? Well, having ADHD as your superpower often fires you up to dream big. Kerwin, you rev people up, you make them successful, you are wildly successful yourself. What motivates you?
Look, that's kind of been a moving target in my life. I think when I initially got into business, the first thing that motivated me was probably the same thing that motivated most people, which was money. But when you actually start creating a level of success around finance, it gets to a point where you have so much of the thing that you want that you start to go, is this really what I wanted in the first place? And spent more than I made, but I was more miserable than I was prior.
Really?
Yeah, and I thought, the more money I make, the more happier I'd be. And so I thought it was money. I got all the money I needed, and I was still miserable. If not, I got more miserable. Yeah, it wasn't until I really stopped looking outside and I started looking in, and I took 6 months off, traveled the world, and look, I came back to a place where I started to realize the thing that motivates me more than anything else is actually helping people.
Now you're obviously super intelligent, but then school.
I'll take it. But I failed
I'm just buttering you up.
Well, that's interesting because I failed every subject.
That's
at
what I was
school.
getting
Every
to.
subject from year 1 to year 12, I failed.
So what? That was, you were diagnosed with
ADHD and
weren't
dyslexia
you?
at the age of 7.
And when you were diagnosed, you were labelled as well, weren't you?
I was labelled learning disabled. I was always told that I didn't learn like everyone else, and I was a problem child in the classroom. And as a result, that affected every other aspect and area of my life, but very unconsciously until my mid-20s. And as I said, I read my first book at age 23, and I'd never be able to read more than a page or two because I'd then forget what was on that page.
Yes.
And then the first time I actually read a book that I was actually interested in, I remembered it. And that's what I've learned with ADHD. ADHD to me gives me an untapped amount of energy to be able to focus on multiple projects at any one time. But it also brings with it an understanding that I've got a hypersensitivity to boredom.
Yes.
And so for me, someone with ADHD, they're very sensitive to things that they're not interested in, and they will check out very quickly and they'll become disruptive. Whereas for me, the key was actually focusing on the things that I'm most passionate about. And then with the hyperactive component of ADHD, you can focus on things I can outfocus any person in the room.
So you really have harnessed it as a superpower. What has been your way to control those focus elements?
The biggest thing I've used to control when it comes to focus is meditation. Meditation is about essentially focusing the mind, whether it be on a mantra or sensation or breath, to a point where you ultimately build an attention span.
Now tell me about happiness in the world. The world is in a bit of a state, and there's a wave that's coming through where people are changing. What do you think needs to happen?
I actually think what you're doing is incredible. I think the focus needs to be brought back to the most practical elements of life. And I actually think happiness is one of the most practical elements of life. It was the Seligman study when they did the positive psychology study into happiness. And they discovered people who are already happy were 78% more likely to experience successful careers, either in business or in their occupation. And what's interesting is so many people pursue business with the virtue of wanting to make money so that they can then buy a house and then a car and a boat and then, whatever. And then I'll give myself permission to be happy. It's like, you don't have to wait. But I was in that trap as well. I was like, once I make $1 million and I'll be happy. And so for me, I think happiness it should be the goal. It really should be the goal.